Sponzorem této epizody je sázková kancelář Betano.
Krejčí a to je Dočkal, který pálí gól! Pravo nebo levo, to je věšák a Sparta vede!
Ahoj Sparťani a Sparťanky. Vítám vás u dalšího dílu podcastu Sparťanských novin. Od mikrofonu vás tentokrát zdravím jenom já sám, Michael Durčák. Vinou, řekněme, jako zdravotních indispozic všech kolegů, kteří by zvládli jako se mnou natočit podcast v angličtině, tak jsem tady bohužel zbyl sám. Mým vzácným hostem je dnes asistent trenéra Briana Prisko, Lukas Babalola. Welcome, Lukas.
Thank you.
Podcast natáčíme vlastně s předstihem, jak už jste zvyklí u všech anglických interview, bude toho mít s českými titulky, protože myslíme vždycky na fanoušky, kteří nevládnou úplně až tak dobře angličtinou, ale i kvůli tomu vyjde až po utkání s Olomoucí. A vzhledem k tomu, jak jsem říkal, jako zdravotních indispozic, budu tady já sám. Celý podcast jako vždycky najdete na našem herohero.co/ Sparťanské noviny a sledujte nás na našem Twitteru, Facebooku, LinkedInu, Instagramu a tak dál. A já doufám, že když tenhle ten podcast uslyšíte, tak budeme mít i 3 body z Olomouce. Okay, enough of the check, Lucas. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No worries.
As we discussed before we started recording, because of the timing of the podcast, we are not gonna talk about the Baník and Olomouc game. So let's get straight to you. In Sparta, you have both of the role of the analyst and the coach. That seems like a lot. Could you explain your position within the Brian's team a bit to the listeners?
Yeah. For starting off, when I came, I was only head of analysis, and the head of analysis oversees all of the analytics work. We have 3 analysts in the club in the first team. We have me and Michael Koliandrovi and Yandis as well, Andre Yanda. And so basically, I oversee what we all do, make sure we go in the same direction, all of us. And then I specifically take care of the pre-match for European games. The way I work and the way I've always worked is to be on the pitch in every training. So even when I was head of analysis, I was in every training and watching those. So it maybe seem like a lot of work, but the small difference from now to before Christmas is that now I take more part in the trainings. That's actually the only difference. So when I'm in the office, I still do the same things. I, of course, a little bit more focus on preparing the sessions, small things like making the teams, make sure I set up the pitch and stuff like this together with Vavra. But basically, it's a small change for me because of the way that I already worked before Christmas, being in all the trainings.
When fans hear about the analytics work, I think most of them assume that you analyze just the footage from the matches. Yeah. But if I understood correctly from the previous interviews and so on, you are recording basically every single training session, and you are also it's completely normal in all bigger clubs to record all sessions. And before we came, Sparta already had set up a great system called Panoris. So Panoris records all of our sessions into a platform that we can then analyze the trainings in. On top of that, we have a drone. I think also there was some interviews with Yandis about the drone. And we use that to record the sessions as well, so we can evaluate the performances in the training, both, of course, the players' performances, but also our own performance. How did we set up the training, stuff like this. So, yeah, we record all the sessions as well. Let's say your approach, from what I understood so far, is more analytical than practical, and when you would compare it to Lars or Brian. Yeah. How do these two approaches towards the modern football influence each other?
No, but I think maybe it's a misconception actually, that it's more analytical than practical, because when you do analysis, you do it for one aim, that is to get an output on the pitch. You do it for the practical reasons. You don't do analysis just to get information. You want to use the information to do something on the pitch, to make decisions. And it's the same way that Brian and Lars, they work. So when for example, we had the post-match meeting of Baník today, then we have seen the game, we have analyzed the numbers together, both separately but also together. We saw the game, each and one of us. We analyzed the game with our eyes, and then we chose some video clips for the players to see.
So I think we're very much aligned in this style that we work in. All of us in the technical staff. It also goes for Yandis and Marco, how they work. So of course we have different roles, some being analysts, some being coaches. But when we do analysis, all of us, it's only for the aim to do something practical on the pitch, either in the training or in the games.
So basically you are trying to shape, with the help of the analytical data, you are trying to shape a particular style of play or help players to improve and so on.
Exactly. So, for example, it could be that the pre-match analysis of a team. We know the areas that we want to hit in the game, but maybe they are more weak in the left side than in the right side. Then we highlight that for our players and for the coaching staff as well, to do specific training drills that highlights this. And then in the game, hopefully you should also be able to see it. So all the way from the analysis, you go analysis to training to game, and then hopefully you have a good output in the end.
Still, for me, as well as you, because we are almost the same age, you are even like 2 years younger than me, which is crazy for me. For me, still the big part of football is outside of data. It's something you can't really measure. It's like mental stuff, atmosphere, and so on, which for me is the biggest obstacle for the guys who are more analytical focused. How do you deal with these things or these factors that are important for each game, but you can't really measure them?
That's a good question. I think first and foremost, the way that I became an analyst was starting as a coach, so as a youth coach. And you get a feeling from these things, being in a lot of games, a lot of training sessions, and you're completely right. You cannot measure everything. Sometimes you also have to go with your gut feeling. That's also maybe sometimes the most important thing. And definitely, if you're a former player, you sometimes have a better instinctive feeling of some of these things. The pressure that the guys they feel before the match, after the match, stuff like this. But when you've been in football for a certain period, then you start to get that feeling as well. I'm also nervous before the games. I'm also very happy when we win. I also feel the pressure of us wanting to win the championship and the double, and I also have to deal with these things. So you kind of get used to the mechanisms in football. And now I worked in senior football for, I think it's 4.5 years now. So of course I have 4.5 years experience, while Christian has 15 years of experience. So there's of course a difference there. But slowly you build that instinct and gut feeling.
How do you deal with pressure? What helps you?
I don't know, to be honest. I do some practical things, like focus on my breathing, doing mindfulness at home before the games or in the hotels before the games. But otherwise, I don't really know how I deal with it. I try to stay calm and relaxed. And for me, it's a little bit easier being in the stands than close to the pitch and the bench. I should be a little bit more calm than the rest of the guys, and for most of the time I am.
I have a question for you. When we did the interview with Lars, Christian, and Brian, they all told me they don't believe in luck.
No.
You don't believe in luck as well?
No. I don't believe in luck. I believe in overperforming and underperforming over a period of time. And there can be several factors. It can be, as you said, some things you cannot measure. Confidence. It can be small things. It can be, if you have troubles at home, maybe you hit the ball in a slightly different way because your legs are a little bit tired, whatever. It can be a lot of things. But over a long period of time, no, I don't believe in luck. In one specific situation, of course, you can be lucky or unlucky. You can hit the post or you can score the goal. For example, Schulo's goal against Banik. If he hits it slightly different, it bounces off the bar and it goes back. But now he hit perfect and it's a perfect goal. But over a long period of time, for example, a whole season, I believe that the best team, they will win the league.
One question that's connected to this topic. One thing you can't really measure, but whenever we compare, like when we talk about football with foreigners and you compare it to the Czech guys, analysts, and so, they always say that the dressing room is really important. You, as a young guy who came from Denmark and now you are at Sparta for some period of time, do you really think that it's that much different from Denmark? Does dressing room plays such a big role?
The dressing room definitely plays a big role, and I think one of the things I really like about our dressing room and our guys is the way they stick together in difficult times. I think there's a difference there. How the guys, they talk to each other and use time with each other after difficult games. The few difficult games that we had, they actually sit down and talk about the game, try to fix the small things that can be in every team. And I think the Czech guys are really good at getting everyone involved, also the foreigners, in different things that they do. So it's not only feel good atmosphere and being nice to each other, it's also talking about the trainings and the games, etc. So it's a lot of things, and I think it is different from what I experienced in Denmark.
And it helps the team, obviously.
Obviously, it helps the team, yes, if you do it in a good way.
Vojta, who wrote the questions, but unfortunately due to sickness, he can't be here with you. He also works as an analyst for the under-19. His question was, how do you actually become an analyst? How do you learn things like these? And do you have some advice for the people who are also like more analytically focused, who want to choose this career path?
Yeah. I don't know how you become an analyst, because there's different pathways. I think when I started just sending my analysis to the first team in the club that I worked in, and they liked it, and then they picked up on it, and I started to do a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. So in general, that's not only being an analyst, but in general, I think you need to sometimes push in the door, just break it down, slam it in, and then show that you're capable of something. Then of course you will also make mistakes, but I think in general you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to those who you think you can help, but also being open to new information, inspiration and stuff. And in general, if you want to be an analyst, you need to start analyzing for yourself, making match analysis for you, team analysis over a longer period of time, stuff like this. And I did this way before I started sending stuff to anyone.
What was the first club you worked at?
The very first club I worked at was it's called HB Køge in Denmark, HB Køge. Been in Division 1 for a long time. And when I was there, they almost promoted to the Superliga, but they didn't. And I worked in the academy there before I moved to Lyngby, which is a little bit bigger club in general, but way better academy.
They have the Viking on the logo,
exactly,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, then you work with Lars at Aalborg, right?
Yeah.
What's your relationship with him? I know that you worked together and you did the analyst for him when he was the head coach at Aalborg. Yeah,
so I actually, it was not Lars that recruited me to Aalborg, but we started almost at the same time. I started 2 weeks after him or something. And that was my first time full-time in a first-team environment, so it was good to have Lars there. I think we developed a good relation there, and I think that's of course also why he put my name in for Brian here at Sparta. But my relationship with him is good. It's really nice, both collegial and as a little bit more friendly. Yeah.
How was it hard to explain to harder colleagues? Because if I remember correctly, Lars is 50 and you are 27.
I think Lars will be very sad about you saying he's 50. Yeah, I think he's a little bit younger.
Okay, sorry,
It's
Lars.
okay. It's okay.
You're under 50.
Yes, exactly.
Over 40.
Yes.
How hard is it? Because like even from my job perspective, whenever you are trying to put something new, some new methodological tool or something to the older colleagues, you sometimes hit the age barrier. Yeah. How hard for you was, especially early in your career, to put forward the analytics, to put forward the things you find as an analyst that you should output on the field?
Yeah, I think first of all, Lars has been into analytics for a long time. So actually, when I started, he maybe knew a little bit about more about specific football data than I did, and then I knew something else a little bit more. But in general, I think the way our technical staff works, Brian, me, Chris, Lars, etc., it's from an analytic perspective. So everyone is used to hearing about data. They know what specific data points mean. So that of course sometimes I bring new things to the table, but as a thought process, as
as a way of working, we're used to working with data. We are very data-led in our approach. Of course, we also, as you said, take decisions on gut feeling and stuff you cannot measure. But in general, I think both Lars and Brian and Chris and me as well, we are all used to working with and working from data. But as I said, always for a practical reason, always to see what you should do or what you should not do on the pitch. It's not something that only goes on in the office. That's the absolutely most important thing about data, because we have so much data that we could just talk about it all day, but we need to have good trainings and good matches, and it needs to be shaped to our style.
How about the players? Do they understand all the things you measure, or you water it down in a good way, water it down for them?
But they don't need to understand all of it. They need to know what they should do on the pitch. They don't. Yeah, of course, sometimes we present them some numbers, but we don't need to. They need to know what they should do on the pitch. And if we have a bad data metric, then it's because we did something on the pitch. Then we show the video clips. It's sometimes a little bit more easy to understand when you just see it with your eyes. But sometimes we can use the data points to find the actual video clips to know what we're looking for. But the players, if they understand the data, it's very, very nice. But they don't need to. They need to know what they should do on the pitch. That's the most important.
For you personally, what's something? I know that you can't tell me all the secrets and let me into the kitchen.
There's no secrets. There's no.
No. What I'm asking, 10 years ago, the most important metric, the big metric in football, was possession. 5 years ago, it was expected goals. What are you looking for now? Is it shots? What are you looking for?
I think in general, there's only there's one metric that correlates with wins, with winning games, and that is expected goals. So that for me will always be the most important one. How many chances do you create? How many chances do you concede? That's what football is about. Scoring goals, don't concede goals. Then in order to get there, we just started a cooperation with some German guys, very good guys, and what they measure is how many opponents do we bypass. So if I pass past all 10 opponents, outfield players, then I get 10 points. And also how many defenders do I bypass. So that's a way to see if you're effective when you have the ball, because yes, we want to control the ball, control possession, but not if we just pass it around in our back three. We want to pass forward, break the lines of the opponents, bypass the opponents and the opponent's defenders. So for example, in the game against Baník again, we bypassed 50 more defenders than Baník did. That's also why we created way more chances, because when there's no defenders, it's way more easy to score the goals.
Yeah, or when it happens when the center back just missed the ball and Kuchtic ran.
Exactly.
Something you can measure. That was luck.
Yeah, that was a little bit lucky. Yeah.
One thing that always bothers me, since the data has been introduction into football, I love long shots, free kick goals and something like that. But the data guys really hate that, right? Because there's a small chance that you score from a long shots. Is it something that correlates, that we have less goals from the long shots, as for example the Schulos goal or so on, because it's ineffective? That's what data shows.
Yeah, but you need to, for me, in some ways you need to choose. Do you want 10 shots from distance and maybe 1 goal, or do you want 5 shots from inside the box, and then definitely you will get 2 goals? I know what I would choose, because what I care about is if we win the games.
I know.
So actually, to be completely honest, it's nice. It feels really nice when Schulo hits that ball and goes crossbar, post, and inside. It's amazing. But if it was a 1-1 draw and we scored that goal, I would be way less happy than a 4-3 win. And you see, in general, 80% of the goals are scored from inside the box. So, yeah, of course, there's a bigger chance to score when you're inside the box. So we need to work the ball in there. Although the goals from outside the box from a long distance is really nice. It's really nice, of course.
But you can see that's one thing, that how the data has changed the football completely.
Yes.
That you are attempting less shots outside of the box.
Yes. 100%.
When you were talking about the metric to bypass the opponents, when especially in the Czech league, a lot of matches are played when basically the other team is standing all of them in the box.
Yeah.
Right? How effective is data in these cases when you are playing this specific strategy when opponent parks the bus? Because there's no team in the world, and you can see it in the World Cup, that can effectively just...
No, but that's a good question. But what you want to see is who creates the most dangerous situations.
Okay.
And you can measure that in a couple of ways. You can see it by bypassing defenders. You can see it by shots in general, attempts, shots on goal, box entries. But also you can see it in which areas do you work the ball into. So it's called expected threat. It's a little bit difficult just to explain. But if you imagine a football pitch, and then when you're in your own box, you have 1% chance of scoring a goal. But the further you get up the pitch, the more you increase the chances of scoring a goal. So basically you can see when you are in and around the box for a long period of time, you have a bigger opportunity to score the goals. So if I take one of our worst games this season against Boleslav away, we had a lot of possession. We were close to their box a lot, but when they had the ball, they were extremely effective. Counter-attacks, bypassing defenders. So actually they created more danger in that game than we did. And we can see that from the data as well. The expected threat in that game is that they were way more dangerous than us. They had a way higher XG than us. But another game where the game at home against Karviná, also against a very low block, it's completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. We were way more dangerous than them, way more times into the box, way more dangerous shots as well. So we can definitely, that gut feeling that you had, that even though we had the ball against Boleslav away, it was a shit game. I really had that feeling, and when I looked at the data, it was exactly the same. So we can definitely see the small things in the data as well.
Let's talk about Sparta. You joined last summer?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Take us through the hiring process. Because we know when you are choosing a new coach, when Brian was chosen, he had a meeting with Rossa and with the board, and he present himself and so on. But when you're arriving into the club as a new analyst, how does it work?
So I got a heads up from Lars at some point, asking just if I was maybe interested, if he could tell Brian about me, and I said yeah, of course. And then Brian, he called me and we talked about football just in general, and we had a pretty good understanding of how we saw the game. It was pretty similar, and then I was asked to do an analysis of Sparta's style of play. How did I see it? What did I see was good? But also, how could we improve? If I were to join, what did I see? And I took Brian through that analysis, and I think, obviously, I hope he liked what he saw. But also, I think he agreed in some points, both good and bad things. And then I think, I don't know exactly what happened, because of course I was just waiting for a call. So, but I think he talked to Rossa, because at some point Rossa called me as well, and I talked about football with him. Again, very aligned. And then I think a little bit later we signed the contract. So it was basically just talks about football.
What did you know about Sparta and Czech Republic in general before you came?
I knew a little, but to be honest, not a lot. I knew something because I still talked with Lars after our ways parted in Aalborg. So I started to follow the games already when Brian he came, but then a little bit more intensively after Lars he joined as well. So I saw the games that Sparta they played, a little bit of replay and highlights and something like this. And then I knew that Czech teams had done well in Europe, both previously but also in that specific season. So that's pretty much what I knew, and then the rest came along the way.
Did you know any of the players?
Yeah, I knew some of the players, yes. Also from the national teams and something like this.
So Asger and others?
Yeah, of course. The Danish guys, Kasper was here when I joined. Asger was here. Khan already played in Denmark, and I think maybe I'm forgetting someone.
Petter Vindal?
He came the same time as me, yeah. But yeah, I knew some of the guys. So yeah, I knew some of them, but of course not too intensively.
Were there any surprises when you came?
The training facility surprised me.
a lot in a positive way. I really like the way Strahov is set up. When I came, it was 25 degrees. The pitches was perfect. Nice facilities at the offices, in the gym, stuff like this. So that's actually surprised me a bit. And then I was not surprised of how big the club is, but it's nice. It's a nice feeling to work for me in the club of the city, of the biggest city, and that pressure and that what do you say, that motivation is nice. I was not surprised, but I was just encouraged by it.
So it wasn't a lot like this, for example, in Aalborg. I don't mean it like in a bad way.
But Aalborg is definitely the city, the club of the city. There's only one club in that city, but the city is 250,000 or something. So it's a little bit different, a little bit smaller city, and you meet everyone everywhere. So it's way differently working in Prague.
Did you know about the rivalry with Slavia?
Yeah, I definitely knew. Again, especially from the matches that I saw. I my first talk with Brian, I think, was right after the 3-2 win. Crazy game, which we all remember. So yeah, I knew about the rivalry.
Were you surprised, for example, with the amount of hate that's in the stadium for like the games?
In general, no, because we have the Copenhagen derby in Denmark. But when I went to, I don't want to say the name, the stadium out there, and the way they behaved, the slogan of the game.
Okay.
I don't want to say. One thing is not to be nice. I was just surprised that it was also in the family stand and everything. So yeah, a little bit.
We already talked about how your job and your role within the coaching staff has evolved. Has there been any more changes since the Luboš Loučka left after the autumn season?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, before Christmas, I was head of analysis. That was my role. And then after Christmas, that is when I became the assistant coach. So more involved in the trainings, both planning and evaluating. And then there, so a small change, but definitely a change, yes.
How long you work every single day?
I don't know. It's I don't know, and I don't care. I'm here to work. So we know that we've done everything that we can to be the best as possible. And then if we win the championship, it's perfect. If we win the double, that's perfect. But we need to know that we in the staff, we've done everything that we can.
You said that you don't believe in luck,
and
the best team in the league wins the championship. Is Sparta the best team in the league?
Then we will see in, what is it, six games, but right now 6. We are the best team in the league. Yeah.
Tricky question, good answer. I know that you were not here last spring, but you have maybe an outsider's approach to this. Could you compare Sparta last spring season and this spring season?
Yeah, I think, and I think the guys will also confirm that last season it was a different pressure, but the same amount of pressure, different pressure from 9 years without winning the league, and building up, I think they were second in round 29 where we are now, and then after the regular season they were then number 1. So the kind of coming from second place, third place all season, chasing the opponents, was a little bit different pressure than this year, and then slowly I think the feeling that they could actually win the championship build it in the club, in the team, and in by the fans as well. And this season we just came running out the gates. I don't remember when we were second, except for the last round. I really don't remember. I think in the start of the season, maybe on goal difference or something. But we have won so many games this season that now the pressure is that everyone thinks we should play perfect games all the time. And as I said to you, what we care about is we want to win. So the most important thing is that we win the games. And now the pressure is all of a sudden, every game needs to be perfect. In a season of 40 games, you're lucky if you play 10 perfect games. And you actually never play the perfect game. But if you play 10 really good games, you're lucky. And the rest of them, you need to win.
What were the really good games this season?
This season, I think Pardubice at home stands out for me. Really good game, except the 2 goals we let in the end.
Olomouc, the first game, also really nice. Jablonec away, all from the beginning of the season. Incredible way to start the season with the pressure of being the defending the championship. And then the cup game against Slavia. Really happy to get the away win there. And then I didn't start talking about Europe yet, because the games we played in Europe has been absolutely incredible.
You know what's funny? We talk about the data for the first 20 or 25 minutes, and when we compare the two teams and the two springs, you talk about things you can't really measure. About the pressure, about the position in the table. And so you still think like the mental part of the football plays big role, especially in the top leagues, right?
Yeah, it does.
I know that you are in charge of the preparing of the tactics for the European games. We had amazing European campaign this year. I think the best since the 2015-2016 season. I hope this was right, because I always mess up the season because it's 7 or 8 years ago when we got in the quarterfinal of the European League.
Exactly.
Could you tell us about how do you approach European games differently than the league games?
Yeah. First of all, we try not to. We try to approach them in the same way. The difference is, of course, the quality of the opponents. But all the process from before the game to training to the game to after the game is exactly the same. Trying to get to know the opponent, that part takes a little bit longer time because Yandes, he knows every player and every coach in Czech Republic. So he can almost do the analysis with closed eyes sometimes. And when it was getting to know Aris Limassol, you really need to watch a lot of games and get to know who is the coach, who is the players, who is the best player, who is the new players, stuff like this. But that's, of course, that is my job. And then the coaching staff is not involved in that. They just get an analysis that they're used to. It's the same kind of analysis that they have before the league games. Then we have good trainings. Then we make a game plan together. And the aim this year has been to play our style also in Europe. So if we were to go into Champions League, which we missed by, I think, 8 difficult minutes at home against Copenhagen, then it should be in our style. And if we were to get in the Europe League, as we did with an incredible win against Zagreb, it should be our style. And also the games in the group stages, it's always being about playing like us, not defending anything, but really trying to attack the group stage.
But I still think that, especially if you look at the game against Galatasaray, you do some tweaking or tinkering of the game style, right?
Yeah. So the game away, of course, what we needed to think about in that specific game was it would be impossible for us to get in contact with the guys during the game because of the noise. So normally in a game we can tweak and change small things here and there during the game, but when you play at their stadium, there's no chance. So the game plan there was more to keep it in a way where we didn't need to change anything before the halftime, and then if we wanted to change anything, we could change it there. So yeah, we do small tweaks and things, but always within our style.
But I saw after the first game, I was there in the away sector, and I could see that after the game they had they didn't thank their fans or anything. What stand out for me about Galatasaray is they were not a team. It was just a group of individuals, and if you would compare it to Sparta, I was 100% sure that we can eliminate them.
Yeah.
You had the same feeling?
Yeah, actually, I remember we flew home from somewhere, or I remember us being in a bus or flight somewhere, and then I sent the game of Galatasaray against Bayern and Galatasaray against Copenhagen from the Champions League to Brian. And when he saw the games, his immediate response was, and I had the same, we're going to beat these guys. We're going to, over 2 games, and especially when we played home at Letna, we're going to win. Because of the way that they don't defend together, and it's no disrespect because they are on their way to winning the league right now in the same position as we are, so incredible team. But with our style, we just had a feeling that we can actually win this game, and we can hurt them in offense, and we can stand the pressure defensively.
Did you have the same feeling against Zagreb? Because it was basically the same. The team that's focused on selling the young players, making the profit. They are reigning champions for a long time and so on, but it's just a bunch of individuals.
I went to see their game against Athens, and when I came back, I said, this is going to be a difficult match unless they sack the coach. And I don't know, I just had the feeling, and then the day after they sacked the coach, and then it was a completely different task because we didn't know what to expect. Maybe also they didn't know exactly what to expect in terms of everything that they did. So I think, we had the same feeling. But again, an incredible team, and now they don't have the best season right now, but over a period of time, it's a Champions League quality team. So really happy to play the kind of games that we did against them.
How about the home game at Betis? Because what I could see from the stands, the approach was way different. We were trying to be more compact, more defending, do not allow them to concede a lot of chances as maybe we can win. How did you see Betis as an opponent?
I saw it a little bit differently. I saw that the quality of their team forced us to going a little bit back into the block. It was never the plan. The plan is always to be as aggressive as possible, to press as high as possible. But the key words there are as possible, because when you face really, really good opponents, sometimes you will end up in the block, as we call it, and then you need to be compact and wait for your chance. So it's more about having a style of play that makes sure that you can compete in all tournaments, and that's also why we use a lot of time practicing how we approach being in the block, even though in the Czech league it's maybe 1 or 2 games a year where it's really, really important for us, but we prepare our boys and the team for Europe always. So that's also, I think you can see it in our performances. I'm
gonna ask about Liverpool in a while, but I think like a lot of people are questioning Brian and his approach towards Liverpool and yours guys' approach towards Liverpool. But what I get is like, if you have just your own style of play that you're applying through all the competitions, it helps you to erase the difference between much wealthier clubs and Sparta, because much wealthier clubs are going to have players that are better individually.
I agree.
So your way to approach this is like you have your sharpen up your own playing style, and it helps you, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You can have many plans in many different games, but if you stick to the same principles in all the games, the guys, they know exactly what to do. And we all know football at this level is decided in very, very small margins, small mistakes, small how do you say it? Small, really good technical things, and all of this is easier if you know exactly what to do. So, for example, the goal away against Rangers, I know we lost the game, but the way we pass from one side to the other, then we pass Angelo, then a cutback, then a goal. It's straight from training. Shulu's goal against Betis, where he curves it around, he does it in training 100 times, because we make sure that he's in that position for many times of the game, as he was against Banik as well.
Doesn't make this harder for new players to adapt towards the playing style, to be useful in, and I mean it in a positive way. So when you bring in new player like Angelo or Birma, does it take them some time to adapt?
Yeah, but I think it's easier to adapt to a team that has a clear style of play than to a team that changes every week, because then you need to know, this week I need to do this, and then I will do this, then next week I need to do something differently. So if you have a clear style of play, I think it's easier to get into the team quicker. Okay,
let's get to Liverpool. And if you prepare for one of the best teams in the world, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, we, the same way as we prepare for all other teams, we watched the game. Of course, we knew that the probability of going through was very, very small. So again, we wanted to see, and all of the players as well, we wanted to see, where are we? What is our top level? And of course, it didn't go the way that we hoped for, but for us, it was something to learn from, definitely. Both the players, individual technical things in the pressure as well, but also for us in the staff, how we could maybe approach the game, maybe a little bit differently, would have given us something else. But in general, I think we want to do it in our way.
Sure.
Yeah, and also with the probability of going through so small, then if we were to do it, it would be so nice to do it in our way.
So it's more of a philosophical approach in a long run that maybe not work just like
but as I said, we always do it to win the games.
Sure.
We don't care about it looking nice or stuff like this, but we train all year on one style of play.
Okay.
So the thought process was also, okay, if we change the style of play completely, park the bus, sit back, wait for our opportunities, would our players know exactly what to do? It's very difficult to just switch like this. Yes, in the Czech league, if we need to do it, we can definitely do it. You saw it against Baník away.
Yes.
We can park the bus in the Czech league and we can sit back and wait. But if you let Liverpool play in your half for 70 minutes of the game, they will kill you. They will kill you. It will not be 5 or 6-1. It will be 10-0. So you need to also get out sometimes. So we try to do things in the same way as we always have done.
Question that comes to my mind: what happened in a game against Plzeň? We lost 4-0.
I think a lot of things happened. I think first of all, the period that we came from, we played Liverpool, Slovácko, Liverpool, Slavia, crazy schedule. Not only the amount of games, but also we met the best teams in the league, and we met the best team, one of the best teams in the world. So I think the schedule was a big part of it, and then the red card. We tried to push for getting a goal when we were 10 men. I think maybe we also talked about it. We should have waited a little bit more, protected ourselves a little bit. If we did not try to press high with 10 men, maybe it would only have been 2-0. The feelings
in the end doesn't matter.
Yeah, the feelings would be a little bit different, but it would be 0 points anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the end.
But we tried to push, and maybe it was good, maybe it was not good.
Sparta received through all of the season, I think, 11 red cards.
Too many red cards.
Too many.
Yes, too many.
How do you approach as an analyst, and how do you deal with, let's say, higher probability that you may receive a red card, if the phrasing is correct? It's like, how do you approach these situations?
Yeah. We talk a lot about these situations because we don't know exactly. Some of the red cards are clear.
Yeah,
clear red cards, and some of them can be discussed a little bit. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. And that's where the mental part of football kicks in. How do we react to a red card? Not only tactically, but also in just the players on the pitch. How do they approach the game? And then, of course, what it also does is every time there's a red card, we can take all the physical data. Now we can throw it away. We can take most of the football data. We can throw it away. So when we look at our season, if we look at all games, we always need to say, and we need to remember the red cards. And then we can take the red cards away and only look at the games without red cards, where we played 11 against 11. The data is also a little bit different. It's a little bit better, of course.
Yeah, and there are like some things, as you said, you can't measure. For example, the home game against Teplice, when we had a red card from the 4th minute, but Kuchtic and others helped, and the atmosphere helped, and we won in the end, right?
Yes, exactly.
When you cooperate with Brian and Lars, and you discuss football ideas, or you discuss football in general, and you are trying to convince each other about something in particular, who's the most stubborn?
I think we all are. I think we are all really stubborn about ideas. I think we're also really open to new things. But of course, we can see things in different ways, small details in the game. And then in the end, you need to have a head coach who makes the final decision. And the good thing is that then we are 100% aligned. Then nobody is stubborn anymore.
Sure.
When Brian says this is what we do, then that's what we do, and we don't discuss it anymore. So, and it can be that he goes with his own gut feeling. Sometimes he also goes with some of the points from the staff as well.
Yeah, for me it almost seems like in the army that you have a general.
Yes,
and
exactly. It's very much the same.
Yeah, well, his wife is in the army, so that's where he has it from.
Maybe.
Děkujeme, že jste nás dokoukali až sem, moc si toho vážím, já i Lukas. Zbytek podcastu najdete na našem Hero Hero, jako vždycky na adrese herohero.co/Sparťanské noviny. Ahoj. What Burma brings you over the Čváňa and...
So, now in the past couple of weeks I watched a lot of Barcelona games, played in Stylem, and I was just amazed. I was just, wow, is this how it is every away game? And the guys said, yeah, hopefully it will be if we continue winning the games.
In what aspects are the Sparta fans different when it comes to the ultras of Copenhagen and Brøndby?
One thing that surprised me is yes, Prague is Prague, and then Czech Republic is something different. It's not the same, man. And then I think the style of play, when I see the games, I see a style that is definitely suitable for Champions League.